Hi, and welcome to another edition of Melrose Profiles. I'm your host, Leonard Caplan, and on the first part of the show, I'll be interviewing students who went to Valencia, Spain, and had a really spectacular tour over there. Second part of the show, I will be interviewing Eva Gertz, a senior here at Melrose High, who has been accepted to the Berklee College of Music for her spectacular piano playing. We'll be back with those interviews right after this.
You hear who Phil likes?
No, who?
He likes a teacher.
Which one?
Miss Sullivan.
You serious?
Yes, put it on.
Okay.
Why were those people laughing at me?
I don't know. Let me go ask one of them. What were you laughing at, Phil?
Fred told us he likes Miss Sullivan.
What?
I don't know, that's what he said.
What did you say about Phil?
Oh, I heard he liked Miss Sullivan.
Oh, who told you this?
I think it was Bob. Go ask him.
Bob, get over here. I heard what you said about Phil.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, you did. Your friend Fred told me.
Okay, so I said something, no big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. All the kids are making fun of him.
Is he okay?
No, he's embarrassed.
Don't spread rumors. This has been a public service message from METV Channel 15. Hi, and welcome to this special segment with students, seniors who have gone to Spain on the student exchange that recently returned during the February vacation. I have Jake Curran and Maria Vivas. We want to zero in on the culture and the language. What did you find over there that really caught your fancy?
You can start.
Well, in terms of the language, I found that there was a very big difference in school in particular, where they learn 3 languages as a baseline. They speak English, they speak Spanish, which they call Castellano, and they speak Valencian, their native language, which they call Valenciano.
So you were in the city of Valencia?
Yes.
Okay. And Castellano,
Yep.
is the language of Castile, which is a province in Spain, correct?
Right, but they, that is Spanish. It's just another word for Spanish.
Right, but there's all kinds of dialects, and that's the one that they chose back in the day to represent all of Spain, correct?
Yes, yep.
So is this different than the Spanish that you've learned in school?
Valencian is because it's influenced by French language way before, I forget when France was in Valencia, but Castellano is the closest thing to the Spanish we learn in school. So.
I see. Now, did you have any problems communicating? How did you communicate?
It was a little difficult at first making the transition. I mean, as one would expect, going from your own language to a different language completely there's going to be some problems. But I mean, I felt like I could communicate pretty well. It was I tried to speak to them in Spanish first, and then English if I couldn't communicate. But I mean, when all else failed, Spanglish did work.
Spanglish.
Yeah, Spanglish was the chosen language of this trip, for me at least.
Now, what about the people in relation to you? What did they do? Did they slip into English, or did they try to make you go along?
Honestly, a lot of the family members, like the parents I stayed with and the sister, they knew little to no English. So it was really difficult for me, but my host exchange student really helped me out. I would speak Spanish, then like Spanglish to her, and then she'd kind of tell her parents what was going on.
So describe how this was organized. You all went there as a group, and you all stayed in individual houses with individual families. So you actually left your compatriots in other homes, and you were all alone with a family, not your own, in another country. How did that feel?
Well, there was quite a bit of trust that needed to be given to them. That you're essentially putting your well-being in their hands. So there was quite a bit of trust that was needed, and it was therefore necessary to communicate with them and to find a way to get your point across.
Right.
My family was very welcoming. My family was very, probably some of the nicest people I've ever met. They immediately opened up their house to me when I came in, and it was like that till the last day.
And is this the same family that stayed with you, the child in the house or the student in the house stayed with you?
Yeah, it's the same family, so we already had that like friendship down, and I already knew my student very well.
I
so,
see. Well, that helped.
Yeah, so it was really.
So what are some of the historical sites that you saw over there?
Oh, we saw a lot of them. One of my favorites was La Catedral de Valencia. That's the Cathedral of Valencia. That is very historic, and that houses one of their most sacred relics, I guess. They consider one of the cups that they have in there the Holy Grail, and I was able to see it, and so that was just a very cool experience.
Well, that's interesting. And what about you, Maria?
I saw one of my favorite sites wasn't in Valencia. It was actually in Madrid. It was El Mercado de San Miguel, I think.
Yeah.
That was the name, and it was an indoor market where it was all like surrounded by glass. And it's one of the oldest markets, but it used to be outside, but because of like sanitation and things like that, they moved it inside, but it's still around today. So.
Okay, any last words, because we're going to move on to some of your co-travelers in other segments. Any last comments?
It was a phenomenal trip, and it really I couldn't have asked for a better experience.
Okay, how about you, Maria?
It was a lot of fun, and we met a lot of like great people that we can keep friendships going on for quite some time, and we always have a place in Valencia. So.
Sounds great. Well, we'll be right back with more guests from this trip right after this. Welcome back, and I'm with Samantha Mallon and Mark Pampinen, also from the Spanish Valencia trip. Welcome to the studio.
Hi.
So now, we had some impressions earlier from two other seniors. What were your impressions of Valencia?
It was a little confusing at first, trying to understand everything in another language, but after a while, we sort of got used to it, and we learned to like communicate with the other people, and it was really interesting.
You adapted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark?
I mean, I had never heard of Valencia actually before I did the trip, and in Valencia they have their own dialect of Spanish called Valenciano, which is a cross between French and Spanish. So it was a little intimidating that they didn't even speak actual Spanish or what we had learned of Spanish. So there was a lot of changes from what we had previously known. But I mean, it's a beautiful city, and I loved it a lot.
What's your most memorable experience?
I just really liked all the different trips we did with our classmates during the day. Going to like the castles, I thought was really fun. They were really pretty with like the huge view at top.
Castles, that sounds really fun.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were beautiful. I mean, and the city of Valencia, I think, was just one of my favorites. It looks a lot like how I imagine Paris. I mean, it had like very old romantic buildings. And
what about the food there? What was the food like?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting is good. That's a good term for it. It was some was very delicious. Paella, delicious. I loved. Their seafood was very different from how we have it here. The heads, you ate the eyes on the fish, you ate the heads of the fish. It was very different, but it was good.
And now, tell us a little bit about the people. The people, were they different than you expected, or were they what you expected?
They were really welcoming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everyone there was really just like friendly and open.
Yeah, no, my sister had already gone to Spain, and the one piece of advice she gave me is that Spanish families are very hospitable. And I knew my host mother didn't speak a word of English, and I thought that was going to be difficult, but she was one of the nicest, sweetest women I'd ever met, and she was it was very easy living in her home.
Now, having had this experience, do you think you guys, as you return here, are you more outgoing now? Are you maybe less shy, or has it changed you in any way?
Well, I certainly learned more Spanish. I mean, so, I feel more comfortable speaking Spanish when I go down to my favorite burrito place in Somerville, and I sometimes need to switch into Spanish, but it made me feel more easier about perhaps traveling in college if I was to go to Europe.
Yeah. I felt like a lot better about leaving home and like living off on my own.
So this prepares you in a way to go away to college.
Yeah.
Are either of you going away to college?
Yeah, my top school right now, which I've gotten into, is in Los Angeles. So that's pretty far from home, and I don't know anyone in Los Angeles. But I feel like I think I could do it now. I mean, if I can live in Valencia and I loved it, I could do LA.
And what about you?
I'm not sure yet. The farthest college I'm looking at is in Pennsylvania, but other than that, most of them are in the New England area. but still like a couple hours away. So.
Now, one final question. Do you think that you guys would go into language or teaching language as a profession?
Well, I probably wouldn't major in Spanish, but I mean, I was actually considering not doing Spanish at all in college. I was thinking about maybe dropping it, but after this trip, I really think I could pursue it. I mean, just the 12 days in Valencia alone has improved my Spanish so much that I don't feel like I'd give it up at this point.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna like go into teaching exactly, but I do want to do something with languages, and I might major in like linguistics and maybe learn some new languages while I'm in college.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you for joining us here in the
Thank
studio, and we'll be right back with two other travelers and share their experiences as well. Here we are again with returning guest Jake Curran, along with Jackie Murphy. This is our final little segment here with you guys returning from Valencia, Spain. So we'll get back to you in a minute because you had a little bit more to say, Jake. Jackie, what were your impressions of Valencia?
It was really nice. I mean, I thought it would be nice, but it was a lot nicer than I thought it was going to be.
What caused you to make the decision to actually go on this trip?
Well, I like the Spanish class in general. I figured it'd be a fun experience.
Mm-hmm. So, Jake, what did you leave out of the first interview? Do you think you
leave
left
out
anything out? Anything you wanted to really get across?
Well, this trip really taught me the importance of learning languages. I mean, I've always loved to learn foreign languages. That's what I'm going to major in, as I said before. It's just, it's really just ingrained in me, like how important it is to know another language, because it opens up like a whole new set of, like, it opens up a whole new potential.
Have you ever taken Latin?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, because, you know, Spanish, French, it all comes from Latin. So people who take Latin can see the relationship, I guess. I never took Latin, I just took Spanish. And French I kind of stayed away from. But Jackie, what were some of your favorite experiences when you were over there?
One of the days we went orange picking, which was kind of interesting because normally here it's apples, but the oranges, and they were huge oranges. It was ridiculous.
What about clementines? Because the first clementines that came to this country were from Spain.
They didn't. I mean, they did eat them, but they didn't seem as big on them as
interesting.
you'd think.
So did they have a limit, like how many you could take back with you?
No, it was somebody else's host mom, and we went, and it was her friend's orchard, so we had bags of oranges.
What did you do there or see there that you did not expect, that totally took you by surprise? Anything?
No, not really. I don't know. It was just different overall. Just like their school system was different, their food was different.
How is their school system different?
Well, they get 2 hours off in the middle of the day to go home and just rest.
Siesta.
Siesta, yeah.
I could use a siesta about 3 o'clock after I get home from here. Well, that's interesting. So they really take that seriously.
Yeah.
So they also have the gumption to get up out of their beds and go back to school.
Yep.
That's it. Now, did you guys fall into that pattern of taking siestas?
Yeah. Fairly quickly. It was just, I got used to it, I guess.
So it must be harder now to come back here and not take a siesta.
Yeah.
Did you find you had more energy during the day?
Yeah, well, we were out late every night. Like, it was normal to be out till 2 in the morning.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Describe that. What did you do?
Wandered. I don't know. We just kind of roamed around.
That is true. We spent more time waiting to get to the place that we were going to than actually being at the place.
Right.
But most nights didn't start until about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock if we were to go out.
That's very interesting. So what about museums? Did you go to any museums?
Yeah, we went to the Prado.
Yeah.
And
I went to Reina Sofia, and we went to see
Picasso.
Yeah, but
yeah.
Now, did you get to go? Now, how far is Valencia from Madrid? Really far?
It's in the high-speed train that we went on. It was about like 2 hours.
So you did go to Madrid?
Yes, we did.
Oh, okay. So what's the difference that you notice externally and internally between Madrid and Valencia? How can you compare the two cities?
I don't know.
Well, Valencia, it seemed, was a lot more old and it just seemed more untouched.
Okay.
Whereas Madrid was very bustling, very busy all the time.
Was Madrid maybe more touristy?
Yeah, well, that's a given.
I see. And Valencia is more, like you say, untouched.
Yeah, it just seemed like Madrid was a lot more busy. There was a lot more stores. The day we were there was a protest there that was going on there. Madrid seemed a lot more lively, and Valencia was a lot more laid back.
All right. So if you were to suggest to a traveler they go to Spain, would you pick? They have one city to pick. Which one would you pick? Valencia or Madrid?
Well, if it were me, I would have picked Valencia.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you want. Like if you want more cultural things for Valencia, but if you're just going for touristy things, go to Madrid.
And did you see any other cities besides those two?
We did. We went to, as I said before, Peníscola, and we went to a village called Sajunto.
Very interesting. Well, thank you for joining us here on this segment, and I hope you get a chance to go back.
You hear who Phil likes?
No, who?
He likes a teacher,
Which one?
Miss Sullivan.
You serious?
Yes, put it on.
Okay.
Why were those people laughing at me?
I don't know. Let me go ask one of them. What were you laughing at, Phil?
Fred told us he likes Miss Sullivan.
What?
I don't know, that's what he said.
What did you say about Phil?
Oh, I heard he liked Miss Sullivan.
Oh, who told you this?
I think it was Bob. Go ask him.
Bob, get over here. I heard what you said about Phil.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, you did. Your friend Fred told me.
Okay, so I said something, no big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. All the kids are making fun of him.
Is he okay?
No, he's embarrassed.
Don't spread rumors. This has been a public service message from METV Channel 15.
Oh no, we're gonna be late to class. Yeah, we gotta run there.
Are you okay?
Wow, that was stupid. Yeah, I hurt my knee. Yeah, and we were so late to class. Yeah.
And that was my interview with the various students who went to Valencia, Spain, all from Ms. Daggett Kane's class. Coming up right now, my interview with Eva Gertz and a look at her piano playing and burgeoning career. Welcome back to Melrose Profiles, and my guest right now is senior Eva Gertz, who is a very accomplished piano player. Eva, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you first came to my attention through the Holiday Orchestra concert, and you did an amazing solo there that our cameraman Pat O'Connor captured.
Yeah, that was a great shot too.
And now, did you put it on YouTube yet?
I did not put it on YouTube yet,
Oh,
but
okay.
that will happen soon.
Okay, that will happen.
Yeah.
Do you have your own YouTube channel?
I will for that video.
Great.
Yeah.
So tell us how you got started playing the piano and how you knew that may be what you want to do for a career.
Okay, I started taking lessons in 2nd grade, but I've always sort of been interested in the piano. There's always been a piano in my house ever since I was little, and I always sort of I was always interested in the sounds it made and things like that. It wasn't till really like in the last couple years, like the last 3 years, that I started to think maybe I'd want to continue music as a career. Probably like the major thing I did that brought that to my attention was the 5-week summer program at Berklee College of Music.
Okay, tell us about that.
So that is 5 weeks long. It's very intensive, everyday thing. I did it 2 years actually. In the first year I commuted there and daily so I stayed at home and went there like a camp. And then the second year I actually lived there in the dorms. So it really felt like I was getting a taste of what the college is like.
Right. So you must have been pretty young when you did that.
No, that was 2 summers ago.
That's
so I
pretty
did
young.
it ages 15 and 16.
Yeah. Wow.
But it was so much fun, and I was so inspired by people around me. I've never been around other musicians that really care so much. So
that's great. So it'll only get really better as you're really enrolled in Berklee, correct?
Yeah.
And you're accepted there now.
There, yeah, in the fall of 2011.
So what are some of the courses that you might want to take? I know you said you were interested in all types of piano, not just classical, right?
Yeah. Well, Berklee's definitely known for like their jazz program, which I am interested in. I want to keep up my classical training as well, but the courses there, they have so much to offer. So I'm really looking forward to experimenting with what they can offer, and yeah, they have some really interesting courses.
So to get accepted there, did you have to go through an audition?
Yeah, I did.
You did. And how was
I
that?
actually played the concerto as my audition piece with some other things too.
The same one that you played at the holiday concert. I see.
The Bach D minor concerto.
What about composing? Do you compose at all?
I do compose.
You do?
That's something I would love to try if they offer some courses, which they do.
I know a friend of mine, she lives in Rio de Janeiro. She took a course in soundtracks, movie soundtracks. Yeah. I know they have that over there.
Like film score?
Film scoring, that's what it's called.
Yeah, that's something I also really
like. That's an amazing, I've seen that done. Another friend of mine, I got to watch him at BU doing some scoring for some films that other BU students had done. And it's the same process as they do in Hollywood. The equipment is almost as good. In some cases, it might even be better these days with the digital stuff.
Yeah.
So now, if you compose, would you compose classical? Would you compose pop, jazz?
Probably sort of well, from my background, I end up with this sort of mix of stuff when I try to write things. It's not really, I wouldn't classify it as classical or jazz. It's sort of like an in-between contemporary sort of thing. But I actually did compose a jazz piece, which was performed by the Polymnia, well, not by the Polymnia, it was performed at the Polymnia Pops concert May 2010, last year. And that was a group from UMass Lowell, was the band, played with me, played my composition. It was really exciting.
Now, you come from a family of musicians?
Yeah, my father is a bass player, and he teaches at Berklee College of Music. And I guess that's my mom's not, so, I mean, she's musical, but she doesn't play anything.
Now, here's the million-dollar question. Will you take your father's class when you go there?
Well, probably not, because he's teaching bass mostly.
I see.
So I'm not studying bass.
Do you do any singing at all?
Yeah, sort of for my own enjoyment. I'm not always very comfortable singing like solo stuff in front of people, but I like to sing in choruses, and I have a MySpace page with some songwriting stuff.
Yeah, most musicians even now have MySpace instead of Facebook, which is interesting. I guess that's a private little thing.
Yeah, there's music MySpaces, so you can sort of have a whole playlist that people can look at.
Who are some of your inspirations that you look up to from the past or from the present, musically?
Well, Charlie Banakis was my teacher, a year ago. He's a very well-known jazz teacher, piano, and he was so inspiring. I mean, I've never met anyone like so musically a genius that he was. And he actually passed away last December. So that was a really terrible loss for many people that studied with him. But he's been a big inspiration for me.
What about Liberace? You ever seen Liberace stuff? Never did?
No.
Oh, you have to. He was from the 60s, the 50s. He did all kinds of fancy, purist classical people probably don't like Liberace, but he was very theatrical. He had rings on every finger.
Wow.
And he could still play the piano. I won't do my Liberace imitation right now. Do it after the show.
It does. The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, well, I forget what his his full name was, but he went by Liberace. He wore very flashy. He kind of like was a classical Elton John.
Oh.
You know, and he had all these fancy costumes and things like that. So.
Wow.
Now, what else can you tell me about your aspirations in piano, or haven't you decided that?
Yeah, I'm unsure sort of with where I want to go. Recently, I've been thinking so much more about it, and I really love orchestras, I've realized, which it sort of is disappointing because usually pianos aren't in orchestras.
Right.
So, you know, I guess I wouldn't be so much playing in them, but maybe if I were to compose for orchestras or
I was just going to say,
something to do with that, I would just love.
Maybe you can change the way that it's balanced. Maybe you can have a piano-centered orchestra.
Well,
There's
I
usually
mean, a
strings.
concerto is sort of like, if it's a solo instrument. But yeah, I maybe would love to learn another instrument that could be in an ensemble.
Do you
like
play
that.
any other instruments? Have you
I
ever?
don't actually. Well, I tried clarinet in 4th grade. It I wasn't really inspired or motivated by anything, so that didn't last more than 2 years.
What about harpsichord or organ?
Yeah, I've not had the opportunity to try those, but I'm so like adventurous with trying stuff. I'm borrowing an accordion right now from a friend, and that's really fun to just sort of play along on.
How about guitar? What do you think of that?
I've never sort of gotten guitar.
It's very different, very different.
Yeah, oh yes, definitely.
Well, I want to thank you very much for joining us here, and
thank you.
best of luck in your career. I know
you
you're
so
going to
much.
go someplace, and we're going to show this interview someday. And we had Eva Gertz in the studio.
Oh, thanks.
So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back with the rest of the show right after this. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Melrose Profiles. Please join us again next time when we'll have various other guests and other topics. Until then, so long.